Welcome back to the dopest show you won't get sick of. I'm Spencer, and this is Sasha. Spent most of my 20s in federal prison, but I've been off heroin since April 9, 2010. Got a lot of stories about the stupid stuff I did to get put in prison. I've also got a lot of stories about the crazy stuff that happened while I was in prison. And God forbid you end up in prison, you want to make some of the same mistakes I made. So, there are a couple people that ended up in jail, prison, anywhere, that made some bad first impressions. And it stuck with them. It was something that stuck with them. Some of them were built over a little bit of time, but you get that nickname, it's going to stick with you. The first person I'm going to speak of, they called the truck driver. The truck driver was a young white guy. He's always walking around smiling, and he's like just so happy to be alive. In jail, I mean, that's not a good look to have. And we had our workout group, and people that couldn't do pull-ups on their own, some people would give them an assist, just like a little lift up to help them do pull-ups until they can get some on their own. A few forced reps at the end. Well, I'm in this workout group. It's being led by this guy. His name was Sam, but he called himself Sambo. Some people called him Bricks. He was about 5'8", 190, straight muscle. I mean, he's like a prison legend apparently in Virginia, from what the guys that were locked up in there had told me about, like weightlifting champion or whatever at wherever he was at. I think it was like Buckingham or something like that he said he was at. But he was strong dude, but he led this insane workout every day that just murder us. But we got really fit following his stuff. Well, this truck driver guy invites himself like, "Hey guys, do you mind if I work out with you?" And he sounds like he might lean a little bit towards that other direction. You know what I mean? And nothing against you if you do, live your life. But in there, add something, put a target on somebody, and just the way he talked will make you think it. Now, he gets up there to do pull-ups, and Sam told me to assist him. So he gets up there, and I start assisting him, and he starts making these like sexual noises as he's doing the pull-ups, like, and I let go, like nervous. I was like, "Sam, what are you doing?" I said, I can't do it, man." So he went up there and he helped him, but he was like, with every pull-up he was doing. I couldn't do it. I couldn't spot him. Like, as soon as he did it, it was like I got electrocuted and he just dropped down. But he assisted him. Somebody else had to, nothing against anybody who lives any type of way, nothing like that. But it wasn't what I was expecting to happen. Now, he got nicknamed the truck driver. That was a nickname that stuck. This guy, Spider. I sold dope to Spider on the street. Spider knew the first time I was in drug court what time I showed up at the probation office. He knew that I had to go for a drug test when they called color code. You had to call every night, and in the first time I was in drug court, the color code was red. You had to get drug tested once a week, Monday through Friday, and Spider would sit at the probation office for an hour and a half, 2 hours, waiting for me to show up. And he'd be like, "Spencer, can you help me out?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I got you, Spider." And I usually had what I called a trick bag. A trick bag is just, a little half G ready. And I helped him out more times than I'd count. He's my buddy, man. Spider, I think he might be passed away now, but he was funny. That's a funny dude. I knew him from the very first time I went to jail. Very first time I went to jail for 30 days. I knew Spider from then. And he talked like this. And you'd think he was a common crackhead. But in reality, he played college basketball in West Virginia. Incredible basketball player. White guy who's probably about 6'2", a big old pot belly, had an umbilical hernia. His innie turned into an Audi. That's what happens when you get too fat too quick. And he literally would eat the butter off people's trays. They'd give you a scoop of butter with the meal, and he'd take people's butter. It wasn't eating it, and he'd just eat raw butter. And he got so, his belly just expanded so big, but you would not think. And his teeth were all they looked like peanut butter. space in between each one. You'd think he was just a crackhead, always been a crackhead. You wouldn't guess that he was a college graduate. He played basketball. He got prescribed OxyContin after a car accident, got addicted, and it just hit him differently. But anyway, Spider was funny, and I swear he talked like this. Everything he said, he talked like this. Well, the guy who I'm calling the truck driver got visits. Now, in this pod, they had like two booths that it's got a back to it that you sit in with the phone. It's right in the pod, and that's how you did your visits. They came to the jail, they sat at it, and you talked to them through the phone. You wouldn't get to see the actual people. You'd have to see them through a screen, which I think is stupid. How long does it take to walk somebody up to the front so you can actually see your family? And anyway, he kept getting this visit every once in a while, and people are like, has anybody seen his visit? Is it a girl? Is it a guy? Who's visiting him? And Spider made the joke. He said, it's the truck driver, fresh off of Interstate 81. It's a truck driver. That's his man. So everybody started calling this guy the truck driver, and it was a nickname that stuck. Now, during the whole time he was there, you never knew anything about that. If he was, if that's what it was, he kept that secret, and that was best, because if he hadn't, it would have been merciless on him with the bunch of people that were in there, because they were bad. I seen somebody else who wasn't secretive about it, and they got it bad. So yeah, the truck driver, that was that was a nickname that stuck. Spider gave it to him. It stuck, because every time he'd go sit in that business, Spider'd holler, it's the truck driver coming fresh off of 581 or off of Interstate 81, and everybody laughed, and it was something that stuck. And he's like, what does that mean? What's the truck driver mean? I mean, I don't know if he was oblivious or if he really didn't understand what Spider was saying, but that's something. I need to tell more stories about Spider. That's a funny dude. I knew him inside and outside of being locked up, and that's one of the funniest, unintentionally funny dudes I've ever met in my life. Okay, the second person is the astronaut. So, when I got to the jail and I was doing this year in jail before I got out on bond, there was one of two brothers. I've been locked up with this guy's twin brother before, who was in the pod. Two white guys that are street as could be, that love to fight. They love to fight. During the time I was there was a brawl that broke out between a group of people and another group of people. This brother came downstairs from his room, took off on one person, took off on the next person, ran back upstairs, covered up with the blanket. He just wanted to get some shots in. He just loves to fight. They both have a reputation for it. Well, this guy, the astronaut, said something smart to him, and he said, don't you know I'll smack the piss out of you talking to me that way? He says, I'd like to see you try. I'm a black belt. And he's short. He's not that big, like 155 pounds. And he walks with kind of a limp and like with his one arm kind of like tight to one side. And he walks back in his room. Well, of course, the twin that followed him right in the room and started taking off on him. Now, something I've seen happen a number of times in fights. People reach and grab and a hold of somebody, have that hand hanging out there with them fingers. He had that hand hanging out, beating him. And he wasn't a karate black belt, and he was cowered in his bunk, didn't throw one single punch, but he did bite the piss out of him. Oh, he bit him bad. He bit him so bad. I mean, I've seen some people dang near get their fingers bit off in fights. I mean, that's one thing, man. It makes me nervous about, watch your fingers in a fight, especially in a prison jail fight. That's some of the worst. That stopped the fight, though. He quit beating him up, lumped him up. But anyway, he claimed that he had done everything. The Kentucky Derby, I believe, was coming on. He claimed he owned part of one of the horses that was in the Kentucky Derby. He claimed so many different things that eventually he got the nickname the astronaut. Why the astronaut? Because that's the only thing he hadn't said that he'd done. I think I came up with that nickname. I've given a lot of people nicknames. Not all of them bad, just random sometimes, but It got so annoying. Like, you threw your hands up, like, just, like, Lord, come on, man. Oh, I'll tell you another one. He said he claimed he was in the military, and the reason he walked with a limp and with his arm a little bit like that was he'd gotten hit with an EID, not an IED, an EID. He didn't even know the letters in the order they went in, and he claimed he got hit with an EID. It's an IED, improvised explosive device, and he said he got hit with an EID. Everybody laughed about that too. Now, he became a joke, huge joke. Everybody laughed at him, everybody. And something about him, he'd get on the phone, and some poor girl, who for whatever reason picked up his phone calls. I believe he was in there for violating a restraining order, and she'd pick up his. I'm pretty sure it was the same girl that he was forbidden with contact with, since she had a restraining order out on him. He was calling, and she was still picking up, and he would just talk to her all types of nasty, like, just mean. And he'd look to see people's reactions, like he thought he was cool for talking to her like that. It's hard to listen to. And something that happened a little bit later on was they have this thing called the Crime Times where I live. It's about 10 or so pages. It's all the weekly arrests of the new people, and they sell it in gas stations for like $1 or $2. It's a newspaper of all the mug shots of the people that have been arrested recently, and the charges. He had he put himself on the registry apparently. It was probably that same girl too. He got that type of charge, and I saw him in the Crime Times. And it was a shame to see, because it'd feel bad for that poor girl. Now, last person I'm going to talk about was Dumpster Juice. Dumpster Juice was about 6 foot tall. He's only in his early 30s, but he looked like he was 50 or 60. He had crow's feet that went all the way back to his ears. He had no teeth, and he had a really little chin, so it looked like the space between his nose and his chin was about a ½ inch. It was like it was all compacted. It was like a cartoon character. Now, he went around to every single person, asking for coffee all day. No shame. Don't want to be the bum. You don't want to be the bum. Jail, prison. It's a bad reputation. It's the lowest of low reputation. And he got that reputation quick. There were a couple things that he got mercilessly picked on. The first one was he was digging through the trash. They kept a trash bag by the door of the pod. It was a giant trash bag, one of those, I don't even know how many gallons, but huge, that people just go put their trash in. He was digging through that one day, so he got the nickname Dumpster Juice. And the second time that something happened that gave him a bad reputation was, this might have been an unfortunate circumstance, but the guard was walking by that night, and he goes, "Hey, what are y'all doing in there?" And apparently they said they were just working out. And I was like, "That don't look right." Well, that got the reputation. There might have been some funny business going in there. So Red was one of my buddies. Red was getting ready to do 17 years for his third coke distribution. You never hear him complain. He's built like an NFL player. Taught me a bunch about working out. Red was funny. Talked like this. And he laughed like, hee. And Red was funny as could be. Every day. That's where I started putting the UFC fights on. He said, "Spencer, go put the fights on." I'd go up, put the fights on the TV, and we'd sit there and watch UFC reruns. He's the one that suggested to me when I get out I should start training. And that thought spiraled into what it is now. But anyway, Red would sit there, and I remember Dumpster Juice was sitting at the table over, and he'd go, "Spencer, whoo, whoo," and Dumpster Juice just look over, and Red go, "Shoot, shoot." Dumpster Juice, "Shoot, shoot." What's he going to do? Red's like 260 pounds with traps that go up to his ears, and he looks like he got busted in the face with the whole dang crack rock that came fresh out the pot. I mean, he ain't going to do a dang thing. And I couldn't help but laugh. I mean, it was funny. But, point being, there are certain things, certain things you can help, certain things that you can't help. If it's something you can help, you know, that's one thing. If you can't help it, that's another thing. But these nicknames stick. You know, I was known for giving a few nicknames to a few people too, that really stuck. But anyway, that's three of them. Three of the funny ones that I could think of during that year that I did in jail. It was just something that I thought about that I hadn't really talked much about. I figured I'd share on here. Had something else planned for this evening, but got to thinking, might not want to say it, might get in trouble for saying it, but I might do it on a later date. But anyway, if you like the video, if you think I earned it, press the like button. If not, that is 15 minutes and 38 seconds of your life, in which you'll never get back. And for that, I'm truly sorry. But I hope you liked it. Y'all have a good one.